everybody. I'm Lacy Schoen, founder and CEO of Real Women, Real Success. And today I'm very excited to continue my discussion on women competing in the workplace, but also just general success of women in the workplace with Kris Murray, who is not only a government leader in her own right, but is a councilwoman with the City of Anaheim. Thanks for visiting again with me today.
It's my pleasure.
We're here at the Anaheim Chamber of Commerce. They've graciously loaned their conference room to us, and Kris was here today, so we caught up with her, and we want to continue our discussion. So
yeah,
thanks again.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. It's lovely to join you and actually talk about something as important as this issue.
Yeah, it is an important issue, and Kris is someone that I very greatly respect in terms of the difficulties and challenges that she's overcome in her career and the character and fortitude that she shows in insisting on meeting her goals and developing the life of her dreams, which is an ongoing process.
It is.
So Kris has some things that she wanted to share with us today, and I have some questions for her. So this is going to be a little bit different than we've done before. We're just going to have a conversation and let you in on that conversation. So Kris, we talked after your last interview, and you and I have had some really in-depth discussions about women's success and women competing. What are some of the things that you want other women to know about success and competing with other women?
Well, thank you. I think it's important. This discussion it just doesn't happen often enough. Sitting down and really talking about what are those things we want to achieve in this world and how can we help each other as women achieve our goals. And those goals can shift over time. Hopefully they do, because our lives are more interesting as a result.
Yes.
But I think it's important that women take that time, one, to be self-reflective, and two, to reach out for that support. And, have that group of mentors that are around you. And it can be family. For me, it is. I have family that I rely on. I have very close friends that I rely on. And then I have both men and women in the workplace who have mentored me throughout my career.
Mm-hmm.
I've been very, very fortunate to have really strong mentors around me from a personal and professional level. But on the front of women, helping women, I really call it sort of a grander sisterhood.
Nice.
Because we really do have.
I may adopt that.
Yeah, and when you're having that incredibly tough day, because they come, having that core group that you can rely on, you can pick up the phone and call, and who can help you see where that hidden success might be, because failures can be successes as well.
Absolutely. That's really important. I call it a tribe.
A tribe.
Yeah. So in your experiences, have you personally had the experience of women undercutting you as you were trying to achieve certain things or as you were succeeding?
Unfortunately, it does happen. I mean, there's just no question it does. Everybody has experienced it. I've had both men and women attempt to diminish my successes or pile on when I've been going through something that's been challenging, or we all make wrong moves. Perfection doesn't exist. And when we strive for it, we make ourselves crazy. So owning and knowing that perfection doesn't exist helps. But
how do you see failure then? Because we've talked a lot about that.
Yeah.
Can you share some of your views on what failure actually means to you?
Yes, well, I actually had a mentor early on in my career, and this has really stuck with me, say to me, because I was struggling with something that wasn't going well at work, and it was one of my bosses who happened to be a man, but he said, Hall of Famers fail 7 out of 10 times at bat.
That's
7 out of 10
times statistic.
They swing and miss. And it's the misses as well as the hits that lead them to the Hall of Fame, because they keep going. I mean, you just keep going.
Yeah.
So I think the important thing about failures is, one, to own it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't excuse it.
Mm-hmm.
Find what lesson there is in it. I mean, oftentimes for me, it's humility. We tend to get so focused on, we really believe we know the right answer, and we're just going to keep pushing and pushing, because eventually everyone's going to catch up with us and be there, right? But sometimes it's about taking a step back and having a little humility and saying, you know what, maybe I don't have all the answers. Maybe I need to think about this differently. But whatever that lesson is, and then apply it.
Yeah,
so really
absolutely.
Apply it, because our failures actually make us stronger people.
So one of the things that Kris just talked about is a behavior characteristic of very, very successful people, not just women, and that is self-awareness. Yeah. It's really important to have that level of checking yourself and seeing where you stand, realizing when you've been running on a rail. And that's not always easy to do,
Right.
but it is a characteristic of successful people. So we talked about before the stats of women being 50% of the population and 57% of college graduates, yet 5% of Fortune 500 CEOs,
Right.
14% of government CEOs. We laughed a little bit about the stat that there's more men CEOs in the United States named David than there are women CEOs. And that we only get 2.7% of venture capital, meaning men get over 97%. Now, you threw a new stat at me that really creates an even bigger imbalance in my mind. Do you remember the one I'm talking about? Will you share that? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. What people don't realize is 70% of women at some point in their lives are the primary breadwinner. So pay equity is not just about fairness. It is honestly an essential need for many families, most families in this country.
Mm-hmm.
Many women are single working moms. They have a husband, especially as we just went through this recession, who's been laid off. Or they just are the primary breadwinner because they're in a career where they're earning more than their husband, and their families are absolutely reliant on their incomes.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is important that women, I think far too often, I know that I did this early on in my career, I've gotten much better at it as I've become more confident in my professional capabilities, but we just take what's offered. When that salary is offered, we're just so grateful for it and we take it instead of negotiating and not just negotiating for a better salary, but before we even interview, doing the homework.
Sure.
Finding out what in our own marketplace, in our own region, what does that salary go for?
Sure.
What is that median price point for that position for men and women?
Mm-hmm.
And then being prepared, having that information ahead of time, and setting that expectation for yourself and for the company that you walk into. Once they've offered you the job, they want you.
Sure.
And it's a rare exception where they won't negotiate with you on salary. So it's important that if we want pay equity, we also have to be willing to negotiate for ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a really good point. And one of the other things that you had brought up is, well, let's talk about two things related to that. Number one, self-promotion. You talk about self-promotion being very important, and yet we talk about how to still be humble and not have an overabundance of confidence, but have that right, I call it humility with confidence, right?
Okay.
And also, what do you do when you can't negotiate that pay increase? Could you talk a little bit about those two things?
Sure. Well, one, I think this is a common characteristic of women. I know it is of me. We're so focused on taking care of everybody around us, our families, our friends, our colleagues, our companies, and I think about the city night and day. What do we need to be doing out there to better serve? And the challenges around us, we're just always out there caretaking as women.
Right.
And we're not as good about promoting our good work,
Mm-hmm.
about speaking up for ourselves and making sure that it's acknowledged as well, because if we do need to be able to market ourselves, particularly
Absolutely.
in the workplace environment.
Mm-hmm.
The fine line is between being boastful or prideful and just truly acknowledging when you do good work, making sure people are aware of it. If they aren't aware of it, it's hard for them to reward you for it through promotions or for salary adjustments.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't mean to put you on the spot here, but is there a way you could walk through how that sounds when you're informing somebody of something that you've done well without coming across as bragging? Because I think that's most women's concern. How might that sound?
Well, I think it's about taking time with particularly your boss, because your colleagues who are working with you see your good work, but your boss is focused on the entire company and or an entire division or entire department. So taking that time and just saying, hey, I just want to walk you through where I'm at, what I'm doing, what we've been able to accomplish, what we're getting close to accomplishing, but here are the steps I'm going to take to get us there. Just having those touch points so that you're not having to take erratic, every once in a while, pound your chest moments, but it's a constant form of communication. And it's just about acknowledging the work that you're doing.
Right.
And when we're doing good work, just acknowledging it from a data standpoint, it will stand out to those around you.
Right. And that's a really good point. Yeah. So I want to make sure that that gets highlighted, is that women can just use, as you say, the data points to convey what they're doing without having to sort of pound their chest. Right. There's one other thing that,
and I'm sorry, just to echo that, it's also important, and I think it helps our own credibility when we're not just about, well, I was able to do this and I was able to do that, but my team, there is no I. We hear that all the time in team.
Right.
And the fact is, none of us accomplish very much by ourselves. We can do an awful lot, but we can't hit those big benchmarks without a team around us. And again, sometimes it's a personal team and sometimes a professional team, but making sure you're acknowledging the good people around you who are working really hard.
Right.
But from the admin assistant who's making sure that your calendar is 100% and getting you where you need to go and helping you with those memos and the filing and keeping you organized, to the managers around you who are managing their own projects and occasionally have to have each other's backs. Whoever that team is, making sure they feel valued as well, because they will help promote you.
Absolutely.
When they see you helping to promote them.
Giving to others is one of our strongest assets that we underutilize sometimes. Right. So credit where credit is due, including yourself, right? Including yourself. One of the other things that I became aware of as a strategy recently, a group of women were talking about their frustration in going into a staff meeting and doing their reporting out, and some of them feeling, humbleness means not to say what they've accomplished or what they've been able to do over the course of the last week or month, while all the men are, this is what they've said, this is not a generalization we're making about men, but the men around their table, they felt were overstating their accomplishments, really sort of grandstanding about them and the impacts of them. And one of the strategies that we're able to talk through is to help women who have a difficult time with that, who are working on that, and maybe it doesn't come across too natural, is for the women to get together ahead of time and acknowledge each other around the table. So now we're starting to build a culture of women supporting women and acknowledging women in a way that brings the accomplishments to light that doesn't always necessarily require the individual to stand up. Now I think it's imperative, it's integral that women do stand up and be able to talk about their accomplishments. But this is also a great strategy around a table.
And feel safe doing it.
And feel safe doing it. If you're in an environment where it's not safe, this is another strategy. And I thought it was really quite brilliant, because what they started to say is, we're going to meet every week, a week before the staff meeting, and we're going to decide what to acknowledge each other about around the table. And even the playing field of perception to the boss who doesn't get a lot of touch points with his people. I thought it was brilliant. It's a great idea. It's something you could lead in your own workplace.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think on the flip side of that, when you have a colleague who's had a tough week, missed a goal, maybe totally flubbed up, had a serious setback, also feeling safe to reach out and say, hey, that one didn't go well, but these other 10 things you did were amazing. Yeah. And really have their back, because you can't underscore how much that helps a colleague who's, we beat ourselves up more than anybody else ever will, let's face it. And so when you have colleagues around you who say, you see it on the Little League teams, the kids go up and pat each other on the back, and it's like, hey, it's okay, we're going to, we have to fight another day.
Why not
Why
do
don't
that
we do
in
that
the
in the workplace?
Yeah.
Why
that's
aren't we
brilliant.
all patting each other on the back? And just, I watch I'm a big fan of USA Volleyball, men's and women's. They do that after every single point. We need to do that more in the workplace.
That's fabulous. That's a great idea. So that's another thing that women can employ in the workplace. Yeah. And you'd be leading, because that doesn't go on a lot as far as I can see.
It really,
very few workplaces.
It absolutely does not. We all feel alone in our failures, particularly professional ones. People don't want to be associated with it. Everybody, especially in an economy that's still rather shaky, no one wants to be associated with setbacks. Everybody still worries that floor is going to open up from under them. And,
absolutely.
From a financial and a professional standpoint, the fact is the floor doesn't get more solid until we're making it more solid, until we're reaching out and we make sure that our team knows they're rock solid.
Absolutely.
And acknowledging that those setbacks will happen.
Nice. Okay, so another question I have is, how do you think men see women who are actively competing or undercutting each other in a professional setting?
One, I think they are more judgmental of it. They don't see it as much when their male peers are doing it. They just don't. And I have worked in a male-dominated field my entire life.
And men gossip too.
They
do.
they do. Both men and women. Everybody gossips, and it's an unfortunate, human characteristic. But the fact is, men are more judgmental of women when they see it, and they just factor it in as a catty sort of characteristic, and it diminishes us in their eyes.
Even sometimes the good folks.
Right.
I've seen professional men walk away from a group of women who had some great women in it because they all couldn't get along. So it
Right.
hurts everybody.
It absolutely does, and I think one of the maturing factors I have felt, or I've at least struggled with and tried to overcome in my own career, is when I started out, I just wanted to fight every battle. You sometimes lose sight of winning the war because you're fighting every battle. But the fact is, when you're one of those people who's challenging constantly, or seen as somebody who's stirring up conflict, it becomes ambient noise. You become sort of broadly brushed with that. And it's important to know when to step back and really be more judicious in when you're going to engage, and really make it meaningful and important when you're going to challenge somebody, or when you're going to stand up and be more assertive. If you're doing it all the time, you're just seen as somebody who's sort of generating conflict. And it's not fair. Women are treated differently than men. We know this, whether we're an elected official, whether we're seeking to be an executive. At any point in our career, we're judged differently. We're held to a different standard, both personally and professionally. And there's nothing fair about it. There's just nothing fair about it. And there's nothing I can say to make it easier other than to say, hold your head high, steel your shoulders. I actually had a mentor, Marion Bertison, who recently passed away, former state senator, secretary of education, an incredible human being throughout her life. And I do hold her, she's just somebody I've admired my entire life.
Highest esteem.
The highest esteem. And one of the things she said to me shortly after I was elected is, you're not going to be treated the same. It's going to be 10 times harder for you because you're a woman. And all you can do is hold your head high, steel your shoulders, do what you know is right, and just move ahead every single day, because you are going to face challenges that just because you are a woman in an elected office. And she was right. I have. It's been extraordinarily difficult at times.
I watched it. It's hard to watch my friend go through some of this stuff.
It's been extraordinarily difficult at times. But I just focus on the good work that we're doing, and know that we're making a difference in the quality of life for the people around us. And so focus on the work. Don't focus on so much on the conflict, unless it's a battle that's truly worth fighting, because that battle will move the needle. It's important for some very strategic reason. Otherwise, just be a little more judicious. I've learned that. I've had to hold myself back at times, and sometimes it's hard. You really want to get in there and make your voice heard, but it's just not necessary to do it every single time.
Yeah, and you'll be more have more credibility and be listened to more often.
Yeah.
If you wait to the primary battles to act,
or if you assist somebody else. So be the person who's given the assist. I'll use a hockey analogy.
Oh, nice.
You don't have to score every goal. Right. You're the one who's helping somebody else score the goal.
Oh, very cool.
Help them, sort of speak up for them, give them some background or some information, or just the nudge they need for them to stand up, speak up, and lead.
So to help some up and coming women, what is your benchmark for deciding what's the battle to fight? Do you have like a primary goal, or that one thing that you measure everything against, or how do you decide?
For me, if at this point, because this is actually something I've struggled with, particularly as an elected official, to not stand up and engage on every single issue. I have core issues that are important to me, and everybody will have to determine what those are for themselves. But if it's something's being challenged that affects one of those core issues that I consider, very, very important to the work I want to achieve, then I will stand up and speak up. But if it's not in that wheelhouse of of the issues that are most important to me, then I'm holding my tongue a little more and
Sure.
standing back a little bit more.
So, and how many of those core issues do you have? 1, 2, 10?
No, probably. I would say for me, and this is in the concept and paradigm of serving as a councilwoman
Sure.
for a large city with a lot of challenges, but I would say probably 10 to 12.
Okay.
So it sounds like a lot.
It does. It does. But
but
professionally, you could probably come up
Professionally,
with
I would
3
say
or 4.
2 to 3.
Okay.
3
2
to 5. Yeah.
That's where I was going with it.
Figure out what's most important to you for your own career goals when it's professional. Focus on those, and don't get caught up in all the bright shiny objects that can pull your attention away and actually are detracting you from achieving your own professional goals.
Right. We've talked before about one of my mentors, in addition to you and several other great women, Christine Iger, who said, we're just not leaving the breadcrumbs for the up and coming professional women.
Right.
You do this well. I think it's something that when you're in that place of feeling like you're not progressing is further, nothing lifts you more than helping someone who's not even quite to where you're at.
Right.
What are your thoughts about leaving those breadcrumbs or mentoring and even sponsoring, as you have done with so many women, to help them get jobs and to put them forward as the talented candidate? What are your thoughts about leaving those breadcrumbs?
One, it doesn't happen by accident. You really have to work at it. You need to consciously look around you. Who are the people around you, the women around you who are younger that might be looking for that assistance? And if a woman approaches you, a young woman, and asks for your assistance, make the time. We're so busy. We're all multitasking on steroids. But the fact is, if someone's reaching out, be that anchor for them, because we've all been there. Young in our careers, we've needed those mentors around us. I know early in my career, I found the smartest person in any job I took, and I attached myself to them to learn and glean as much as I could. And I was really blessed that I had a lot of patient folks in my history who indulged me, and I try to do that for people in my life as well. So. But people are not always self-confident enough to ask. So if you see somebody who's younger in your office, just ask them for a cup of coffee. Find out what they're trying to achieve. Especially if you see those bright lights, they stand out. The ones who are willing to step up and do more than they're being asked of, who do the 110%, who are inquisitive, and they stand out. They're bright lights, and so reach out to those, nurture them, and help them.
And that builds your sphere of influence as well for
Right.
future opportunity, which, talking about future opportunity, you have moved in and through several different sectors in your career. And I want to talk about that because I think someone who maybe have gone to a certain level in their particular field don't look at other fields as a potential, but if you look at yourself as a vessel of skills and talents, they're transferable to almost any field. I have done most of my most effective hiring when I knew the person ahead of time and had a relationship with them. So you have had tremendous success going from different sectors. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely, and I agree with you. And I think women in particular underestimate the value of their skill sets, because the subject matter can change, the industry can change. It's the skill set that hiring managers are looking for. It's a network of relationships that can be valuable to that company, that are also transferable. And certainly the higher you get in your career, the more your skill set is transferable. People are looking for leadership. Ultimately, people are looking for leadership. And it's actually an essential component to a good employee at any level of the organization. Organizations that value leadership at all levels, that receptionist is just as valuable to that company because she or he is that first impression of the company. And if they don't have good customer service, and if they don't value the company they work for, that will come through. And it will diminish that company and keep that company or that organization from prospering. So we need to value it at every level, but certainly the higher you get, It's leadership that people are looking for. The person who's willing to take the calculated risk, the person who's willing to speak up and make sure that the training and the resources are there for their organization to be successful and for their employees to be successful. The ability to articulate and both in writing and verbally. That's why continuing education, I think, is absolutely essential. And also work ethic. I think my calling card throughout my career has been my work ethic. It's what I'm known for. I mean, I will literally work myself into an early grave to achieve.
And she still smiles.
To achieve objectives.
That's true.
I will be available day or night when we're trying to get a project accomplished or get a new account, or if I'm trying to achieve a legislative goal, forget about it. I don't sleep. So, that's what I put a lot of stock in. Those are transferable skills.
Absolutely.
You can always learn a new industry sector. You can always learn a new subject matter, a new product line. That just takes a little time and effort. But the skill set that you're honing, that's transferable. So don't allow it to hold you back. If you're working in, I work in the transportation industry. If I were to switch into the energy field or healthcare or whatever it might be, I'll take the time to learn that field. But what I bring to the position is somebody who's going to get the job done and do it well and foster the people around me so that the company's successful. That's why I would be
it's excellent advice.
Applying, and that's why I think somebody would take me personally seriously. So just using that as an example.
It's excellent advice. I think that is something that almost all women could take to heart, and it opens your world tenfold.
Well, and speaking to opening your world, I ended up in the transportation sector. It was very serendipitous. I, right out of college, went to Washington, D.C., wanted to work in a place that I'd admired my entire life. I love history, I love our government, I love this country. And I went to go work on the Hill in Washington, D.C. And was a young staffer who had, again, no skill set in this arena, barely had a college degree under my belt. And so I started as a scheduler. And many people start as paid interns and unpaid interns. But you get into the office, you learn how it works. You learn every constituent, especially a scheduler. Everybody. You're the gatekeeper. And then I just started helping everybody in the office. I wanted to be a legislative assistant. They have to do mail till it's coming out, respond to constituents, and answer mail till it's coming out of their ears. And so I would stay after a 10-hour day and help them answer mail.
Wow.
And I learned the issue that way. I learned how to hone my skills and write better. And because I was willing to help, they were willing to give more and more until all of a sudden I was getting experience as a legislative assistant and got promoted to be a legislative assistant. So that's just a personal example to share that, the opportunities are all around you. You just have to seize them. You have to be willing to reach out and ask for them. And how I ended up in transportation, my boss, the congressman I worked for, asked if I wanted a promotion to serve him on the Transportation Committee at the House of Representatives, and I honestly rolled my eyes. I thought it was the most boring subject in the whole world. I knew nothing about it, so it just didn't interest me. But he was a professor in his prior career, and he just said, you know what, why don't you try? If you don't like it, we'll look at another committee, but I think you might like it. And it turns out transportation touches every single aspect of our lives. It affects water and energy and labor and quality of life, and it ended up being a door that was open for me. I never would have selected on my own, but I listened and I took a leap of faith and I walked through that door and I never looked back. So
excellent example. And one thing you said that I want to reiterate is what you basically said is go to the next level above you and offer to take something off their plate. Is basically what you're saying. Yeah. And I always say one of our strongest gifts is giving. Women are good at giving. Right. Give to the right people, give strategically so that you're part of the equation and you can benefit from it. Yeah. So you have done that throughout your career, which I think is brilliant. One of the things that is often identified as a missing link that I want to ask you about is that women are taught, we want to see that you have leadership skill. We want to see that you demonstrate your capabilities with the position you're in now. We want you to do all these things, and we want you to have a mentor, a good mentor.
Right.
If that mentor doesn't teach higher level strategy, a lot of times those women are getting overlooked because the male candidates are used to mentoring each other with strategy. So what's your advice on that front for women in terms of picking a mentor, going after, so they've got to find someone that can talk strategy to them, so when they go for that job, they can say, here's my vision.
Right.
Do you agree with that?
Well, one, I think we need to first take that time for ourselves too. Strategically, what am I trying to achieve? And what would be some steps to help me get there? And bounce those ideas and thoughts, so you're not doing it in a vacuum, off of people you've seen be successful, and ask for their input. You know, am I on the right track? Am I missing anything? So I think that's essential. You know, especially women who are very successful, and many are also raising families, they're stretched thin. So their time to try to categorize and strategize might be limited. Seek them out because you want to seek their advice, because you want to use them as a sounding board, a place of support when things are going tough. Seek their advice when you might want to pivot and look in a new direction. And in this day and age, you know, people aren't staying with the same company for 20 years. In fact, the average tenure is 2 to 3 years, and you're moving on. In fact, resumes look stale to hiring managers today if you've been in one place for 7, 8, 10 years. They're almost wonder why you didn't. And honestly, one thing women don't realize, and I learned as well from a personal standpoint, if you really want that salary leap and that promotion, you oftentimes have to leave. You may come back at a higher level to that company, but it's a rare organization that promotes from the very bottom to the very top. So you might need to leave to sort of do a switchback approach to your career. So don't be afraid to leave in order to promote and get ahead in your career. But as far as working with women to help strategize, I think we really have to sort of help create that strategic process. So not just look for it to be provided to us, but here's what I'm trying to achieve. Here's how I think I'm going to get there. Do some of that homework. Roll up your sleeves. Do the legwork. And then ask your mentor to review it with you and help you fine-tune it.
Absolutely. So do you have any other thoughts or wisdom that you'd like to share to our viewers today? I know you have a lot to offer, so I want to give you the opportunity to just free flow.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think the number one thing we can do is give each other a break. You know, women aren't perfect. No one's perfect. Perfection is a mirage, and every time we try to seek it out, we just feel less. You know, less of everything. So the point is, work ethic is essential, in my opinion, and nothing will ever replace it. I've seen the smartest people in the world not achieve their goals because they just honestly were very apathetic in their approach to things. I'm smart. People should just want me.
Sure. I've seen that a lot.
And I've seen, you know, I've seen folks who barely got through school, and we have examples all through history of leaders in our country who struggled in school, but they're willing to be the ones to get out there and really roll up their sleeves, work hard, take calculated risks, and give it all. So, you know, figure out what it is you want to do. There's nothing worth doing if it isn't your passion.
Absolutely.
That is first and foremost. Know that you can't do it all. Know that you can't be perfect in everything you do. Own your failures. Apply the lessons that you learn from them. We're all a work in progress. I know I still am. I'm still struggling for what I want to be when I grow up.
It's a forever deal.
I know I want to be a good parent. You know, I know I can't be a perfect parent. I know I want to be a good parent and raise a great kid and of character, and give back to my community and work hard for my company to be successful. Those are my goals. So figure out what yours are. I left out, as most people do, to be a good wife and friend as well. You know, giving back to the people around us. Those are the things that are important to me. But figure out what it is that's important to you, and find good people that you admire who are making it work in whatever capacity that is, and seek them out, because it's the rare individual who's not going to want to help you.
Yeah.
But we do need to ask.
Yeah. Find someone who's doing what you want to do. figure out what they do, and then do what they do, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And be supportive. You know, it's not always easy, but everybody around us is looking for support.
Absolutely.
Nobody feels like they have all the answers. So just make sure that you're taking that time to be supportive of the people around you, and also to be supportive of yourself and what you're trying to achieve. And little by little, we move the needle.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add?
Thank you. This has been wonderful.
Yeah,
It's a great
so
discussion.
much.
I'm glad that it's, thank you, Lacy, for doing this, because it's an ongoing discussion. And I think the more voices that we add to it, the more we'll all learn from this process. I know I enjoy watching your interviews and admire the women that you've talked to. We're all in this. We're all learning, and the point is to never stop learning, so we can always learn something new.
Right, and we are needed. Our skill sets are needed in the world today. When you look at all the things that go wrong, it's the compassion, it's the empathy, it's the intuition, it's the patience, it's the commitment, it's the giving. Those are the things that we need to bring to bear with those other skill sets, and women have those naturally. So my hope is that we can change our culture, and as you say, bring some more awareness to these issues so that women are more aware of what they're dealing with and can handle it from a knowledge base. So
absolutely.
Thank you so much. We'll do
this
again.
I love it.
I appreciate it. Give me a hug.
You too, sweetie.
And thank you all for watching, and we will see you next time.